Bun găsit, sunt Adrian Boioglu. Interviul de astăzi este unul special, cu atât mai mult cu cât locația aleasă este casa lui Charlie Ottley de la Șirna, în comuna Fundata din județul Brașov. Vom vorbi astăzi despre pasiunile lui, despre cum a construit sau reabilitat această casă și mai mult decât atât vom vorbi despre zonele pe care le promovează în noua lui serie, care va fi prezentă în curând pe un cunoscut canal de streaming online. Mai mult decât atât, Charlie vorbește și despre modul în care va colabora cu Ministerul Turismului pentru a promova țara noastră peste hotare. This is your home. This is not only a house. This is the place you've built for yourself and you've decorated the way you want it to be.
Well, I say built. It's actually restored. Because it was kind of a ruin, like a lot of wooden houses here, and in many other places in the country.
What makes this yours? What are the small things that make it yours?
Well, I think first of all it was the fact that we bought it and it was tumble down and needed a lot of work, and we cut through walls and opened it all up and designed it as we wanted. This attic space was accessed by a ladder over there, and it had holes between the beams where you put your foot down and you fall into the room below, and it had barbed wire and rats and straw and old bits of leather and sheep fleeces and whole Hessian sacks, and it was like the dust when you came in here was you're just breathing in all of this stuff, and it was really, I looked at it and it was right back to the timbers of the roof.
Now you had a chance to visit most of Romania. So why did you choose Fundata? Why did you choose this place to call it home?
Well, I saw the potential here. So as I was saying, we opened the whole place up. We opened the house up. I put a vertical or horizontal door in the ceiling, knocked through a wall, made the whole place as I wanted it to be, designed it, and we wanted to show everyone else that you can take a bunica house, a traditional house your grandparents may have built, and you can adapt it and upgrade it for modern living. And I think this is vital because so many of these houses like this, made of wood, with shitsa or wooden tiles on the roof and shindrela or dranița, are getting ignored, left to fall down, burnt, sold as firewood, sold as floorboards. And people don't care because they think it's primitive, because we in this country still don't understand that respecting patrimony and antiquity is more sophisticated. By adapting it for modern life shows a vision. Knocking something old down because it's old is unfortunately a roadmap for a much poorer place in the future. Romania has this cultural landscape, this patrimonial landscape, second to none in Europe. Yeah, okay, Spain has incredible castles, Italy has beautiful villages. You go to Tuscany, and those villages you're not allowed to put Bilka tiles or whoever, on the metallic blue tiles on the roofs of these old houses. You need to use traditional tiles made with ceramic in the style of every other house. And if you're building a new house, it needs to be in stone. I have no objection to modern houses having, modern roofs, but in a place like this, it should be designated historic village. And there are so many other villages across the country that also need to be ring-fenced and protected for future tourism. Because this is what the tourists come to see. We're seeing this erosion in the Maramureș and Bukovina, where old villages are being lost beneath this huge cascade of concrete and cement. And eventually, you can't actually see the wooden village it used to be. People are coming to see a wooden village. I mean, tourism 25 years ago, if it was promoted well, wow. Really, because it was unspoiled. Now we all have to progress. We all have to move into the 21st century. People want to have all the mod cons that they need, but what you have to try to do is not lose the heritage along the way, and that's something that's happening at a rate of knots in this country because people don't recognise the value of heritage.
Tell us about Fundata. What do you think makes it special?
So Fundata and Șirna, because Șirna is part of Fundata. Șirna, in fact, was the original tourist village under Ceausescu, the first one, and full of houses like this. So we're working with the mayor and other people to try to protect this village now and Fundata to ensure that we don't get this rash of concrete houses springing up as they do in other places. We have an amazing architecture here. It's a traditional mountain architecture. It's Romanian. It's not Saxon. It's not Hungarian. It's not Lipovan. It's Romanian architecture, and it's unique to this particular region. And these houses should be, I mean, if they were in my country, they'd have a grade listed slapped on them, and they'd be grade 2 or whatever, or grade 1, and you wouldn't be able to change them. You wouldn't be able to knock them down. And I think that they are so important for tourism and for, the future of survival of communities such as this, where people are paying to come and see this architecture, to come and stay in houses like this.
As we speak, you're getting ready to launch your new series, and you opened your house to visitors. How do you feel about what do you think the people that are coming here should know about Șirna? What do you think they should know about Fundata? What do you think they should know about these places and the fact that you can actually visit, you can actually live in a house like this, you can actually make it your home just like you did?
Well, I think they're hopefully quite surprised and inspired, because we're showing what you can do with a place that most people would just discount. And I've had lots of people coming here, and they're just like, "Wow, I can't believe you've got this in this old building." I think Fundata and Șirna have that going for them. They've got the architecture, they've got that patrimony, but both villages have this position overlooking Piatra Craiului and Bucegi, and you have these incredible views. Like an amphitheatre of mountains of the Carpathians around you. You have forests full of bears and wolves and lynx. It's a properly wild place. So it's an adventure playground for people to come. And in the winter they can go snow hiking, or they can go cross-country skiing, or build snow castles as we do, and sledge. But every time of the year has something incredible to offer. The mixed forests that we have, as I always keep saying, Romania has the largest mixed forest in Europe. And here it's extraordinary. In other places it's mainly spruce, when you go further north. But around here it's beech, it's oak, it's ash, and we have this wonderful forests that turn gold and copper in the autumn, and they change. The landscape changes; it goes red. The more that you don't find anywhere else in Europe. I mean, you have to go to America to go to Maine to see the maple trees and the aspen to find something like that. Here, I mean, wow, it's extraordinary.
The more you promote it, the more people are going to come here. Aren't you afraid just a little bit that this is not going to be the same when more and more tourists are coming here?
This is why we need to be very strict about what we allow in terms of building. Planning regulations need to be maintained. People need to build in a sympathetic style that harmonises with the existing landscape. This is vital for the future of Romania. It's one of the most important things I can say about any different area in this country, and it's a very important theme in the new series. If I want anyone to take anything away from season 2 of Flavors of Romania, it is please respect the architecture of the landscape. Try to find a way, build a more modern house, but try to fit in and to inherit a tradition and to do your own thing with it, sure, but to do it in a way that doesn't stand out like a sore thumb. And I think if we're sensitive about this, the buildings, the new accommodation for tourists won't stand out, maybe, ideally, won't even be discernible as different from the existing houses. And, we have enough space for more tourists in this country, I mean, look at the promotion that's already been done. People are sent to Bran Castle, they're sent to Viscri, they're sent to Bukovina. But there's so many places in Romania that need tourists for the survival of these villages. And, okay, maybe this may be less here in Șirna because it's becoming a go-to place. It was voted the most beautiful village in 2023. But we just have to stop a rash of concrete and cement taking over, so much as I like Bran, so it doesn't become Bran Sus. We don't want a town of sprawling... I use an example in the show, Runkar. Now, I'm sorry to the people that live there, but it is, in terms of visually, it's an act of vandalism. And it's on the Transalpino, and right in the middle of one of the wildest landscapes and national parks we have in Romania. And it's just an aberration. And it's terribly sad. And this is happening more and more in beautiful spots. To keep a spot beautiful, people have to remember when they're building a pension or a house or holiday home or whatever, it's not what you see when you look out of your big window. It's what other people see when they look back.
Absolutely. You mentioned your new series. Invite our viewers to watch it. What makes it different? What's new in the new series?
I mean, to be blunt, it's a lot more hard hitting than season one. We are looking at all the pros and all the cons, all the pluses. I've made it. Each episode is around about 1 hour 15 to 1 hour 20.
How many episodes?
There's 10 now, not 9, and the last episode is 2 hours long, over 2 hours long. Okay, so it's almost double the size of season one. We've also got an FPV drone pilot who follows me on the bike throughout the landscape, so people come along and they see the landscape as you go, and it opens up their minds to how beautiful Romania really is. It's a bit like when you see an estate agent's brochure, you always ask, well, yeah, that house looks nice, but what's just off the side of that photograph? And you find out when you go there it's a power station, or it's a motorway. So what we do with the FPV is he follows me, and he's there behind me looking at the landscape. So I'm driving through it, and it's not just the scenes that we stop at and we film, and the interviews and the destinations that we visit, but it's also the journey, and there's much more about the journey. And each segment between each historic region, we've got many minutes of driving shots, just to prove to people that no, we're not just selecting the best bits. Have a look at it all. See it as it really is. This is Romania. It's all amazing. Yes, there are ugly places, but by and large, the majority of places in this country are still pretty beautiful, pretty amazing.
What are the places that were part of this show that you think that are truly amazing and that people should not miss in your show and just as a visitor?
I'm going to let people decide that themselves when they watch the show. There's something for everybody. We've been to, as I said, every historic region, all 9 great historic regions.
Would you move? Would you stay in one of those regions?
I'm here because actually, home is where the heart is, and my partner Juana and I have, decided to be here. And actually, you can find something beautiful wherever you are, and people in Britain, enjoy living in Britain as I used to. But for me, this is as good a place as I've ever found in the country to be. And when I sit on my deck in the morning and I have a coffee and I look at that view, which is changing every single day, I pinch myself. I just feel blessed and lucky and can't quite believe I'm still living here. When I go to sleep in this room and I hear the rain and the hail and the thunder and the lightning, or the snow and the wind howling around the eaves, and we're in this house in a field in the middle of nowhere on the edge of a national park in the most beautiful landscape I've ever seen, I just feel blessed. I feel so lucky. I still can't quite believe that this is my home.
Now, let's get into an area that I'm not sure if you're going to like. And now, what would you say to the people in the Romanian government, maybe the tourism ministry? What should they change when they're thinking about promoting Romania? Because you're one of the best promoters of this country.
Okay, well, right now I'm going to say thank you. I'm going to say thank you.
Why?
Haha, that caught you out, didn't it? You weren't expecting that answer.
Well, in a way, but why thank you?
I will explain. Basically, we've been trying to work with the Ministry of Tourism for over a decade. Okay, and despite our best in treaties, they've just never made it happen. The new team that are in, who are now the Ministry of Tourism, have contacted us, and we're collaborating with them to make 8 new films to promote Romania on BBC World News. And we're having conversations in a way that we never used to do, because they're young, they're dynamic, they're proactive, and they actually know a bit about tourism, which is, for me, extraordinary, because all the previous incarnations, were from very different walks of life. and they didn't have that education, or maybe I'm being mean, let's just say they didn't have the interest or the experience necessary to promote this country. So from what I've seen, I mean, we can always be wrong about this, but I mean, I from what I've seen so far, these guys are doing a great job, and they want to learn. They're inviting and asking and working with experts in the field. I mean, not talking about myself, but lots of people. But they're not just sitting around having more and more focus groups and brainstorming sessions and more research needed, because then another 5 years go by and nothing gets done. They want to do stuff now. And this new BBC campaign that's going to happen prior to the WTM, the World Travel Market, in November, is going to happen in October. And we're right now in the process of working with them to devise 8 new films to rebrand Romania. And one of the ideas I've always wanted to do, which they're letting me do, hopefully they'll like the results, is to show Romania as a country for all seasons. Because it's not okay just to have people coming for the spring or the summer. We need people to come all year round. We have villages that, pensions that close in the winter because they don't get enough tourism. And yet there's still amazing things to do in the winter. So we need to rebrand Romania as a country for all seasons. We have, as I said before earlier, we have the autumn tourism, the fall, the harvest, the truffles, the gastronomy, the produce that everyone's bringing in, amazing corn, all this stuff. I mean, all the vegetables, all the potatoes, the onions, everything. It's wonderful. And then in the winter, we have this winter wonderland where we have all the amazing traditions that go on, people dressed up, singing folk songs, lights in the cities. We have Santa Claus that comes twice here. I didn't work that out. We have St. Nicholas Day, and then you get Santa Claus again on Christmas Eve. Go figure, right? Isn't Santa Claus kind of an abbreviation in Spanish for St. Niklaus? So, you guys are really lucky. You get him twice. But I might be wrong about that. Please don't write in and tell me. But the idea is that, there's so much tradition here. And it goes on all year round. The Easter, the painting of the eggs, all of that. Then, bang, the countryside explodes into flowers and spring. And, the bears come out of hibernation. Or mostly not, because they don't do that anymore because of global warming. But let's imagine. We have nature knocking on our doorstep. And so in summer, it's beautiful, it's hot, it's balmy, it's warm. The sea's nice, you have adventure tourism, all that stuff. So I wanted to do something to show that, with the Ministry of Tourism, that Romania should be a go-to destination all year round.
Would you say that they are open? So you said they're open to that idea. Would you say that is the way they should treat all the influencers, the journalists? What should they do to expand on that idea?
Well, I think that they've got so many ideas. This is one of their ideas that we work with them on, so I'm not taking credit for it. I mean, that's something that the seasons is something I felt strongly about. We discussed it, and I think they do too. But also, you've got to look at what defines Romania. Lots of countries have castles. Lots of countries have medieval villages, Most of them are protected a bit better because you're only allowed to use a certain type of tile or building material, unlike here. But, patrimony is there. So Romania has these things, but Spain, Italy, France, Germany, Austria, England has lots of these things as well, right? We can't really say, we have better castles, because we don't. A lot of our castles are just left to fall down. Certainly under Ceausescu era, there was this whole idea about modernity, so not much money was made available for preserving historic monuments. And that still happens today because people were preconditioned to believe that old is bad and new is good. Right? We still have to kind of re-educate people to recognise the value of patrimony. But they say 100 monuments a year kind of fall down. We're losing this history that we have and that's so precious and that we should be so proud of. But it's like making a ciorba. I went to interview in the new series the originator of ciorba de Raduțan, right? The woman who invented ciorba de Raduțan. Now, I bet people listening to this or watching this may not have known that ciorba de Raduțan was created by a woman who made it for her kids. Instead of naming it after herself, she named it after the town, and it has now been voted, internationally, globally, as the 7th most amazing, popular, delicious soup in the world. The 7th best soup out of 10 in the world, invented by a bunica, or a mother at the time, now a bunica, in Radot. So it's like when you make a chorba, you work out the ingredients. Yes, we've got castles. Yeah, we've got this, we've got that. But it's a different I would say levels of what you put in that makes a place special. We can't compete with Spain with castles. We can't compete with protected, beautiful, pristine villages. You know, we can't compete with places in Italy with that, you know, or monuments, for example, in the UK, because they're better protected with a better framework of planning regulation. But what we have is we have the wildest landscape still left in Europe. We have the greatest biodiversity in Europe. We have the largest surviving mixed forest in Europe. We have 2/3 of Europe's apex predators, right? 2/3 of the bears, wolves and lynx in the whole of Europe are here in Romania. With the biodiversity, we also have amazing produce. We have, from that, we have all these customs, crafts and traditions that also come into play. We have the cultural diversity that we have in this country, as I was alluding to earlier. You know, all the different nations and people and ethnic minorities that live here. And when you put all those things together, you have a result. You have a chorba, which tastes like nothing else in Europe, which is not like any other country in Europe. And we need to recognize that. We need to work out, those are the ingredients. Let's not change the recipe. It's working, at least from a tourist perspective. You know, let's celebrate those things and work with that.
Okay. There's one thing you didn't mention: the Black Sea shore. Haven't seen you film there, or
you need to watch a Debroja episode of the new season of Flavors of Romania.
That's going to be in there.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, the Danube Delta is a place that I've always felt needed more promotion, and it's getting it now. It got it with our BBC campaign before Christmas. We had a lot of footage that I put into the 4 films that we ran for 6 weeks in the run-up to New Year to try to steer tourism for this year, you know, we're going to be including lots of shots of it in the new campaign as well, you know, with the collaboration with the ministry. But I think the Black Sea coast per se, beneath the Danube Delta, is a bit really not our strong point. I've got to be honest. Some people are going to hate me for saying that, but you know, you can go to Greece, you can have clean water in the Mediterranean and eat fresh seafood pulled in by the boats from the fishermen that come into the little harbours in the evening, and you have a perfect coastline where you can snorkel and see for 10 yards beneath you in the water, and you can stay in a gorgeous little hotel, you know, and pay €60 per night and get a gorgeous meal, go and eat at the local restaurant, wake up, get breakfast, move on, or stay there for a week, whatever you want to do. You've got islands, you've got ancient Greek culture, Roman culture. You know, it's beautiful and it's cheap. And then you've got Mumbai, and you know, people pay hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of euros to go for a weekend to stay in a high-rise concrete building, to swim in polluted waters in the Black Sea, and as we've seen this summer, to very often injure themselves or do something stupid and nearly die. It's not our unique selling point, I'm sorry. There will always be people that will go there for the music, for the club scene, for the Ibiza vibe, blah, blah, blah. Let them go there. I'm happy that a lot of people go there because they don't then go to Greece. You know, cultural tourists who go to Greece appreciate all of that. People that go down to these resorts on the Black Sea want to rave, they want to party, they want to do all that stuff. But it's not a great image for Romania. I got to be honest. I don't think it's the best image for Romania when people see that. They look at that. People that live in England, for example, it's an island surrounded by a coastline with fairly empty beaches and really cool restaurants with lots of space to put your blanket down and sleep and sunbathe. And then you see, boom, cut to Mumbai, and there's not a square inch of sand, you know, that hasn't got a towel on it or a recliner on it, and people are paying a fortune to be there. Huge amounts of money. I never realised that this segment of the Romanian population is so rich. You can have a weekend in Mumbai, or you can have 7 days on a beautiful island in Greece for around about the same price.
Now you mentioned ciorba, you mentioned seafood. Let's talk about food. What do you like about the Romanian food?
I would love to talk to you more about this. I'm going to have to go downstairs because I've got a whole load of people. I'm being very rude. All of it. But I think we are the breadbasket of Europe. We have more organic fruit, veg and herbs and natural wild herbs and everything in this country than almost any other country. We should be doing more to celebrate that and not be buying Spanish tomatoes or Turkish melons. You know, we have so much here that we grow in Romania, and I'd like to see the supermarkets being more active in promoting local producers, more farmers markets, that kind of thing. Romania has it all. You know, we shouldn't be buying in bulk at cheap prices and flooding the market with crap produce. You know, we have great new chefs coming up through the system, visionary chefs. If Michelin were to be persuaded to come and do a Michelin Guide of Romania, they would be amazed by how many places now exist where they'd be getting 2 stars, 3 stars. There's restaurants all over the country and hotels I've been to where you're just constantly surprised by the creativity of the chefs there.
In the end, please extend an invitation for everyone to come see Fundata in Șirna.
Okay, so come and see Fundata in Șirna. It is voted in 2023 the prettiest village in Romania. I live here, I can testify to that. And the views are spectacular, there's so much to do, and you'll see what was the original tourist village under Ceausescu and has unique mountain architecture, and it's Romanian architecture, sort of purely to this region. And as I say, I mean, every house is a little castle, and I love it, being English, because you know the saying, every Englishman's house is his castle.
Thank you so much.
Cu drag.
Acesta a fost interviul cu Charlie Ottley de aici, de la Șirna, Fundata în județul Brașov. Eu sunt Adrian Boioglu, alături de colegul meu Mitică Raftu din spatele camerei. Până data viitoare vă dorim o zi mai bună.